Hi, hello, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all once again in another edition of Telenoticias. My name is Giovanni Esquivel, otherwise known by my street rapper name, Ignacio Santos. Today, we have a set of specials that the people want to know. We have the Minister of Education, Marcel. We have Javier, who has a PhD in psychology. And we also have Sebastián, a nature researcher, who's been doing work in Bolivia, I believe. So, we have a set of questions that we need to ask you. So, first question would be, teens, right? We have, multiple around the country. That sounds weird, but let's just roll with it. They self-destructive behaviors. Some of them have mental issues, eating disorders, self-abuse situations. How do you think that their friends can help them out? I'd like to throw this question, directly to Sebastián. What do you think we should do about it?
I think something essential to help people is know why they're behaving the way they are behaving, actually. So maybe analyzing their attitude or asking them why they're feeling that way, because sometimes it is hard for people to express themselves by their own initiative. Like sometimes you have to ask them, and they have to express why they're feeling. After that, you may proceed, I don't know, to show them what they can do to feel better, or to stop these self-destructive conducts that are really dangerous.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely believe that the first thing that the people around them should do is find the root of the conflict. Maybe not try to uproot it directly, because that might end up damaging more than it helps them, because then it's a very quick shift and they don't know how to react to it, right? But yeah, I definitely believe that you need a fruit of the situation and slowly help them out, because some of these kids don't want to let go and they're very stubborn about their issues. Well, what does Javier think?
Well, I think that most times the root issue comes from the kids, well, the teenagers, I think, not being accepted and not feeling accepted, right? Because they don't feel they have a place where they belong. They don't feel like their friends are really their friends, and they really have a comfortable place in society. They tend to turn to these behaviors as an escape, right? So I think that just if you're a teenager, making your friends feel welcome and having a safe environment for them is really all that you can do. Well, not all that you can do, but a really nice thing to do, and it would go a lot to help a lot of teenagers.
Well, Javier, excuse me, but in my case, I strongly disagree with what you said because I know that can help. Yeah, for sure. But you're just covering the problem. You need to go deep inside, talk to the person, and get to the starting point of the problem. You need to deal with that because even though you're trying to help, what you're doing is covering what is happening. You're not, you're helping, but not in a very good way. So in my case, I strongly disagree. I believe that you need to go and search for an expert and treat what is happening from the inside, from the starting point. That's the only way you're going to help.
All right, very, very strong opinions coming from all directions. Very, very interesting. I believe we'll have to talk about this later. But we have to move on. We have a limited amount of time. So let's move on to the next question. Video games, ladies and gentlemen. Video games are a controversial topic. I personally am an enjoyer of video games. But what do you think? Do you think that video games are addicting? Do you think they can make children dangerous, perhaps? And do you think they're distracting the kids, our youth, too much from their studies? Or do you think that there needs to be a balance, or how to reach that balance? I'd like to throw this question over to Javier. I'd like to know your opinion.
Well, I think that, yeah, of course, video games can be addictive, but I do think they could be addictive in the same way that other media can be addicted, right? Mm-hmm. So a teenager might as well just be addicted to Netflix or to video games. Those are, in my opinion, equally likely. And so there's no real difference between games and other forms of entertainment that makes them more addictive, right? And to the next point, I would say that, yeah, there needs to be a balance, as in all things in life. And games should be really treated as a way to distract yourself and get a little rest from life sometimes. And that's very useful when you're very stressed out, and sometimes you need it, right? And but they should never like replace studies or even physical exercise, because these are really important things, and even they serve as distractions, as in physical exercise.
Sebastian, perhaps you can give your thoughts.
Okay, my thoughts on this question are, okay, video games can be addictive like any other thing, just like Javier said. However, when it comes to an addiction, they become harmful when it reaches the point in which it intervenes with other activities in your life, when you stop being productive just to do one thing. Now, when it comes to kids becoming dangerous because of video games, now that's something that comes to responsibility, because you need to know how to differentiate fiction from reality, something that it never happened to something that can actually happen, right? So I think that's what makes video games, well, not people dangerous from looking at video games. They can't differentiate or make the reasoning to not do certain actions.
Mm.
What else? I think that's it for me.
All right. Well, I'd like to chime in with my own thoughts. Well, as far as if video games can be addictive, I think that's a no-brainer personally. Like yeah, of course, any form of entertainment, I believe anything can be addicting to a certain degree. As far as if they can become dangerous, well, in certain cases, I believe they can further something that is already there. Let me present it with an example. There's a very famous case of a kid actually murdering family members because they saw someone doing it in Grand Theft Auto, which is one of the most like pointed out situations of video game violence, right? And I mean, of course, that's terrible, but it was already shown that the kid had previously had other mental issues, and so I believe that there definitely needs to be a control, because very young kids or kids with issues can definitely misinterpret situations and can definitely see a video game and see the cool man shooting another man and be like, oh wow, I want to do that, right? And there should definitely be a control, especially in situations like that. I'm not saying there shouldn't be any control for like normal, well, quote unquote, normal kids of a certain age, because they're supposed to differentiate, but you never know. So yeah, I believe there should definitely be a control. And as far as how do you balance it? Well, I mean, it's hard. It's really tough to balance out those things, but it's just what you have to do, because it becomes an addiction otherwise.
Well, excuse me. In my case, I kind of agree with you. For example, indeed, in the fact that in my case, I believe that everything can be addictive. I know people that are addicted to drinking water. There are people that are addicted to playing soccer. There are many types of addictions. But it comes to you, and it comes to us how we decide and how to manage with addiction. Because I know people that are addicted to, for example, using their cell phones, navigating in the social media. But you need to search for help. First of all, you need to organize your thoughts. So yeah, I'm becoming addicted. You need to search for the signs, for the symptoms, and then search for help. That's the key of everything. I believe that you can, for sure, if you love video games, you can manage your time. You need to like deal with a schedule. Okay, I'm gonna study for 2 hours straight, and then I'm gonna play for 30 minutes. You need to do that kind of things, and in that way, you're gonna be able to do that. So yeah, you need to manage your schedule. You need to manage how to use your time. And yeah, you can deal with playing video games and studying at the same time. That's super possible indeed. I know people that live that way.
Right. Perfect. I believe that was a very fruitful discussion. Okay, next question, ladies and gentlemen. Technology. We all know that it's advancing at a ridiculous rate nowadays. But at what cost? Do you believe that, that long-term effects of living in this, technological world are going to be positive or negative? What kind of result are they going to give us at the end of it all? Marcel, if you could give me your thoughts.
Well, right now we're living, as you said, Ignacio, in a technological world. Right now, technology is part of our daily life, and I believe the technology is amazing. We have more good things and bad things when it comes to technology. And yeah, for sure, I know we have problems. For example, climate change, the pollution we have done during the last few years has been incredibly extreme, you know. But we are dealing with it. We are developing new kind of technologies that can help us reduce the bad effects that we have done and the bad things we have done in the past. And right now, we're super looking forward, and we're willing to develop new kinds of technology that can help us to not pollute and to do the things that technology does right now. So I believe that technology is amazing, and it is up to us how we decide to use it. Because, for example, if someone goes and do something really bad with technology, and people go and encourage him to continue doing that kind of things, we are doomed. So it is up to us. But as I said before, we are really going forward, and future is looking bright.
Sebastian, you can go ahead and give us your opinion.
Okay, thank you. In my opinion, like technology really has improved a lot of aspects in life. Things have been a lot quicker lately. Like you can communicate faster, you can travel faster, you can investigate faster. Everything is faster in life. However, like the development of technology has really made people to lose consciousness on the world around them, like of reality itself. Like people pass hours in their computers investigating or all that, and they lose like this essence of how life is, and they lose consciousness on the environment as it has been mentioned many times. This technology can still evolve. However, if we still lose consciousness, even though there are people who are trying to make technology that doesn't harm the world around them. We also know that there are people who don't actually care about what happens if technology evolves and the world just rots around them. So I think it is really debatable if technology evolution is something good or bad for us.
I would like to chime in, and I really agree with the duality of the points that technology can be good or it can be really bad, and at the same time, it really is both. But I think if we further invest into technology, we can develop technology that it somehow prevents itself from being further bad. So let me explain what I mean with an example. You know, you have the factories that are releasing lots of gases into the earth, right? But we have evolved technology, and we have evolved some technology that will be able to, or has already been able to, reduce the amount of pollution that factories produce. And if we further keep investing into technology, maybe we can create a filter that completely reduces the pollution and the footprint of the factories on our planet, and then we will be able to have clean energy, right? With factories that don't even produce gas. So I think that investing further into technology could be a good alternative, but we have to be careful that we don't invest further into the wrong aspects of technology and then end up getting even more pollution, for example, continuing the same example.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it. I feel like what we've said all really boils down to it depends, right? Like we'll have to see. I don't know. It depends on like who ends up in a position of power, how it ends up manifesting itself. You know, like I think it all just depends on how it happens. I think it can really go both ways. I guess is what I'm trying to say. One projection of the future is we all live in this like world in which there's no pollution, there's no traffic, there's no bad thing. Well, there's always going to be bad things, but like it's reduced to a point where it's minimized. And we could also end up like, I'm sorry to present maybe perhaps a childish um, example, but Wall-E. Wall-E is a movie that represents a world in which people stopped caring about these things, and they just destroyed their Earth so much that they had to go into space and ignore all of their problems. And I mean, of course it's a cartoon movie for children, but its message is definitely true, and it comes across as very alarming because it is a possibility. As ridiculous as it seems, it's a possibility that it would just end up destroying our world. So I believe it really depends on if we really take action and become aware of all of these things as a whole, or if we'll just let it slide and eventually remove ourselves from the earth. I think that's what I'd like to say. Okay, I think we have to move on to the next question. This is a simple one. This one requires no explanation. Where do you think the world will be as a whole in 20 years? I believe Sebastián can help me out with this one.
The world as a whole in 20 years. That's a very interesting question. For me,
Oh, excuse me. I seem to have read the script wrong. Was life better 20 years ago? I'm sorry. That was my mistake.
if life was better 20 years ago, all right,
Yes.
that's a little easier to.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Possibly. I mean, like, yeah, things have improved, like life prosperity, medical advancements, technology itself. Like, I mean, yeah, as we mentioned many times, it has really improved from that time. But now, there are, like, when people talk about these things like distractions, like they have always been distractions. And well, I'm not really sure. Like, I feel that we are more distracted nowadays from what really matters. And this as a point for saying that life was better 20 years ago, or if it is better now. Yeah, it's pretty difficult to say that. Like, I would say it was better 20 years ago from now. I don't know,
Excuse me, Sebastian, but in
but
my
that's
case,
what.
I totally disagree with you. You know, without hesitating, I will say right now, living right now is like 100% better than living 20 years ago because equality, equality. That's all. You know, many people 20 years ago were not able to go and do whatever they wanted to do, going and search for a job or that kind of things because of their color scheme, because of their gender. And now they can. Now you can be whatever you want, whoever you want to be. There are no limitations. You have thrill freedom. So without hesitating, living right now is 100% better than living 20 years ago. And yeah, we have problems like climate change. I've said this before, but we are dealing with this, and we are really looking forward to make this world better. So I believe, as I said, 100% living right now is better than 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'd like to say I was actually thinking the exact same thing as Marcel. And while reading the script, I started thinking about that. And yes, if you're a woman, if you're someone who considers themselves to be non-binary, if you're of a different or if you differently enjoy the world a lot more now than in 20 years ago, truly we never got to experience the world 20 years ago because we weren't born yet. But from projections and things that we can see and things that we've experienced now and different movements and developments that have happened, I believe we can get ourselves like kind of an idea. And yeah, I feel like the biggest developments, other than the like crazy development of technology, which I mean, of course, that's another great thing that has happened over the last 20 years. Definitely just this whole like movement of acceptance and respect that's being spread around the world that was most certainly present 20 years ago and even before that, but really started to blow up. And the internet, which is another tool that has developed over the last 20 years, has definitely projected that beyond any like scale that it might have been able to reach before. So I believe that's my take too.
And well, an argument I hear often is life was simpler back then. Life was just way easier, and I didn't have to worry about that much. But I think that ties into the concept of nostalgia, right? People really do remember things differently 20 years ago. They put a rose tint on everything, and it seems really really good when you look back at it. But when you take a real look back at it, I think it doesn't hold up as well, right? So I completely agree with Giovanni and Marcel in this one, and I think that yeah, the world had a lot more problems than we have been able to solve. We have created some new ones, but I think the problems we solved really outweigh the ones we have created in the past 20 years. That's my opinion, at least.
All right. Amazing. And for the last question of the evening, I'd like to ask everyone, everybody has an opinion, everybody has their own thoughts about different things, but do you think that people still hold that right to have an opinion, even though it is well known and well proven by facts that opinion that they hold is wrong? For example, in the case of the pandemic, people saying X thing about vaccines or treatments or whatever. What do you believe? I'd like to ask Marcel first.
Well, and I have another example, and it is flat earthers. There are people out there that believe that the earth is flat. And yeah, indeed, they have. I believe this is the best thing of democracy, and the best thing, for example, in this country, I believe it is lovely. Everybody has the right to think whatever they want. And I believe it is up to us whether or not we decide to believe that what they are saying is true.
Mhm.
And for that reason, we need to educate ourselves. If we educate ourselves and if we start criticizing what people say, we're going to be able to develop a very high way to understand things. And I believe that's the key. And yeah, they have truly the right to have the opinion they want to have. And I'm going to give you an example, the Galileo example. It was like very known that the Earth was flat back there, and that the Earth was the center of the universe. But Galileo said no, the center of the solar system is the sun, and everybody was like, oh my God, that's false, for sure that's false.
Mhm.
But he fought against the odds, and hey, that was true. So I believe that's the beauty. That's the beauty of democracy.
Mhm. Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. There's so many things that we consider to be silly and ridiculous, like you said, flat Earth. There's donut Earth. There's the flying spaghetti monster. There's so many things that we look at them and we're like, what, right? But I mean, things that we consider as well-known facts nowadays in 20 years, might be different, and maybe they'll be the ones laughing then, right? So yeah. And besides, I've always believed that everybody can do or say or think whatever they want as long as they're not hurting anyone, right? You can believe in the flying spaghetti monster as long as you're not affecting anyone directly. You can do you, right? I respect that, and you can be open to whatever you feel like you want to believe. That's my opinion.
The thing is, I think I disagree with you a little bit. Of course, in Marcel's example, sure, Galileo thought way differently than other people did in his time, and he was right. But then he proved he was right with science and facts, right?
Mhm.
He actually contributed to the world science and actually proved he was right. So I think having your opinion differently than other people and actual common facts is maybe a good thing, but it isn't a good thing if you can't prove it, right? So you have to maybe have a way to balance your opinion and say why it is a valid opinion, because if it's just a false opinion that has all the science backing against it, and you just can't prove it right, I think you may be able to consider maybe following science, in my opinion.
Right. And Sebastian, to finish this off.
My opinion about opinions is that okay, everyone can have their own opinion. They can have it, they can. But now, when it comes to expressing your opinions, that's where things get difficult.
Mhm.
Because sometimes it is hard for people to differentiate their opinions from facts. Sometimes they express their opinions as statements. Like, for example, the vaccines. You can say they have chips from the government, but it's something that is your opinion. However, you express it as an statement. So that's what creates controversy. Even though there is several scientific reasons countering your opinion, you're still making it a fact. So that's when we have to differentiate when you're making an opinion from a statement. Also, opinions are really people can have them. However, we have to be objective in certain aspects of life, or when we're studying, or when we're trying to prove facts, more like in science, we have to be objective, right? So, about opinions, they have to be differentiated from what actual statements. But you can have your opinion as long as it's only yours, and you don't try to force it on anyone else,
Mhm.
right? And also the part when it comes that you can back up your opinion with different facts, I think that's pretty good too, because you can make people not just be confused about hey, why do you think this? You can just back it up and make people kind of understand why you believe what you believe.
All right. And I believe that ends today's meeting. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming with it. And yeah, thank you for viewing. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Ignacio. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Ignacio. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Ignacio. It was a real pleasure to spend this evening with
Likewise, likewise.